Development Loan Scheme.
Question number 12, David Shearer.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. To the Minister of Transport, is the Minister satisfied that the Pūhoi to Wellsford road of national significance represents good value for money and has had its costs and benefits adequately assessed?
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Mr Speaker, in regards to the Pūhoi to Wellsford road, it's too early to confirm exactly what the final cost-benefit ratio will be. NZTA remains in the design and investigation phase, and this work is ongoing. The most recent published BCR is 1.1, including wider economic benefits, and this can be found on the NZTA website. Given the nature of the ongoing work, the exact cost, which of course is the C of the BC, will not be known until the design is complete, and NZTA will continue to update me as this work progresses.
David Shearer.
Point of order, Mr Speaker.
Point of order,
Could
David
I
Shearer.
table the Pūhoi to Wellsford project summary statement, which actually says, according to Treasury calculus, that the cost-benefit benefit is
Just before the member goes into
0.8.
that detail, what's the source of the document?
That's the New Zealand Transport Agency, 2010.
New Zealand Transport Agency document. Leave us sort table that document. Is there any objection? There is no objection.
Was a specific cost-benefit analysis of the Pūhoi to Wellsford Holiday Highway project undertaken or anything like it before it was identified as a road of national significance?
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Mr Speaker, in answering the member's question, I should point out that he is inaccurate. There is actually a table of BCRs at different discount rates and with or without wider economic benefits. I should point that out. And that is, of course, in the report that the member has just tabled. In relation to the question, though, the projects were specifically identified as strategic projects that the government sought to see developed, and the identification of the actual BCRs has continued on through that process, as the member is aware.
Point of order,
David
Mr.
Shearer.
Speaker. Mr Speaker, I specifically asked, was there a BCR done before the road was declared a road of national significance? And I don't think the Minister already addressed that.
If the Minister believes he's answered that, maybe if the Minister can just clarify that part of his answer, because he did start his answer with some rather different information.
Repeating that for the member, as I say, the projects were identified based on their strategic benefit for the country, and the BCRs of all the projects have been calculated. Some of them had BCRs calculated at the time, and others had them developed through the process. But as I said to the member at the answer to his first question, these continue to be refined over time, so there is no final BCR.
Point of order, the Honourable Trevor Mallard.
Mr Speaker, again, I apologise to my colleague. It was a very specific question that had to do with one project. And Mr Speaker, the Minister made general comments about other projects, but did not answer that question for this project.
Well, it seemed to me, despite my ear being terrible on the right, that he was saying that at the time that it was named as a road of national significance, there was no information about the costs, so it was impossible to have a benefit-cost ratio, is what he seemed to be saying, which is the answer to the member's question seemed to be no, therefore.
Well, that's good.
David Shearer, supplementary question.
Thank you for your help, Mr Speaker. Supplementary, does the Minister still have confidence that the Holiday Highway can be built under a budget of $2 billion when State Highways Manager Tommy Parker recently stated that, quote, every time you put a spade in the ground up there, you've got to put in retaining structures or tunnels or something. The level of ground movement is more than we had anticipated, which makes huge problems and huge costs. And if he does have confidence, what might minimise these unforeseen costs?
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Mr Speaker, obviously the member's been catching up with his reading. This was publicised in mid-July of this year.
Point of order, the Honourable Trevor Mallard. Order. The Honourable Trevor Mallard.
Mr Speaker, it was a straight question, although I know you don't like the title of the highway. Mr Speaker, it was a gratuitous initial response.
Well, yeah, an opinion was sought whether the Minister agreed with Tommy Parker, I think, and opinion questions always are less precise, but perhaps the start of the answer was unnecessarily gratuitous.
Point of order. Speaker, point of order.
No, I've dealt with the question.
Can I make a separate point of order, Mr Speaker?
Oh, further point of order, the Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Yeah, well, I think, Mr Speaker, the member persists in calling it a holiday highway, which I think many people actually around the country find a little offensive. And I think that is a gratuitous and an opinionated matter. So I think, on balance, the question was met with a similar answer.
Order. No, I'll deal with this matter right now and take no further points of order on the matter. The Minister does make a valid point that calling a road of national significance a holiday highway is gratuitous. And it is. And the Minister makes a perfectly fair point. However, let's get on with the answer, because a question was asked and it was a perfectly, apart from that unnecessary use of that language, the question was a perfectly reasonable question, so let's hear the answer. The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Mr. Speaker.
Order.
As I was seeking to point
point
out.
of order, David Shearer.
Mr. Speaker, I take your advice on that. About a year ago, Mr. Joyce was at a meeting where he called it the so-called holiday highway.
Order.
So he was referring to it himself.
Order. I'm on my feet and there'll be no further comment from anyone. It is clearly, if the member wants a straight answer at a question, the road is the bit of highway being referred to as, I think, Pūhoi to Wellsford, State Highway 1. And if the member wants answers to questions, best to use the straight language. It leaves ministers less opportunity to wriggle. The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Mr. Speaker, the point I was making to the member is that this has been aware for some time that particularly north of Warkworth there are some challenges, and in fact the New Zealand Herald of Friday, July 15th broke the story for the member by saying that these were some issues in Dome Valley in particular. And I think that is the point, that it is challenging, and there is significant challenges to be worked through, and engineering challenges, which I've also acknowledged, I believe, in this House previously. So there is more work to be done, and again, we won't know the final BCR until that work is done.
David Shearer.
Parliamentary, Mr. Speaker. Given that more than 40 people have died on the Pūhoi to Wellsford road in the past 9 years, what action has the Minister taken to upgrade the existing State Highway 1 while we wait for his Pūhoi to Wellsford road?
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Mr. Speaker, in fact, the Transport Agency has taken a number of initiatives, including two, I'd have to say, varied reviews, lowering the speed limit on part of the section of that road to 80 kilometres an hour to assist in lowering the road toll. And as I say, that's been varied reviews, but it has actually had some success in the incidence of accidents. It remains a very dangerous piece of road, though, and ultimately the answer is to have a separated highway for those high-volume highways around the country where we have high volumes of traffic seeking to pass each other in opposite directions in very difficult conditions, and that's why this road has been developed.
That brings to a close questions for oral answer today. Honourable members,